The Friday Night Funkin' Adventure mod just dropped, and this mod is very special because it actually takes on the old school art style of Eddsworld. And in this video, I want to go over each of the major characters in this mod, because if you didn't actually watch the show, you may not be familiar with some of the references, like the shoe, for example. If you're excited for the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and let's jump into it with talking about Ed first and foremost. Now, most of you probably know that Eddsworld actually refers to a series of animation, comics, and games that was created by, sadly, the late Ed Gold. Even though Ed passed away in 2012, his friends are able to keep his legacy alive in the form of his animations and also the character Ed, who was based off Ed Gold. Ed is an interesting character to me because he's never really consistent in his behavior. Sometimes he's very carefree and outgoing, while other times he's kind of selfish and just self-centered in general. And probably the most notable thing about him is that he has an obsession, and I mean that in a literal sense, with Coke and bacon. And since we're talking about obsessions, we have to talk about Matt next, because he's literally obsessed with himself. He's described as being a narcissist, and this is why we see him with the mirror in the mod, checking himself out. And another funny thing about Matt is that sometimes he can be a genius and other times he can be dumb as a rock. And he has this weird obsession where he likes to hoard stuff as well. The next person I want to talk about here is going to be Tom, and Tom is interesting to me because he probably has the most consistent personality. He's basically just that friend that's very pessimistic. He's kind of cynical. He doesn't always believe that things are going to go well. He's that one friend that everybody has that just finds a reason to even hate Christmas. And since addiction seems to be a common thread between all of them, Tom's addiction is actually alcohol, and if we're being specific, is Smirnoff. And he also has kind of an addiction to the guitar that he keeps around called Susan. The next person that we need to talk about in this group is going to be Toadette. Now, Toadette probably has the weirdest obsession in my opinion. First and foremost, he's very trigger happy, so it kind of makes sense that he's holding a gun in this mod, but he's also a hentai addict. Now, if you don't know what hentai is, do not go type it in. Keep your innocence for a couple of more years. Now that we went through the main characters, let's talk about some of these other little figures that were brought into the mod that people may not be familiar with, starting with the shoe. Now, the shoe actually belonged to Toadette, and he left it behind when he moved out in the 25 Feet Under the Seat episode. Now, I believe this is around the time where the voice actor for Toadette was getting a lot of hate in real life, so he ended up leaving the show. Now, funny enough, the shoe actually had some major roles in some other episodes later down the way. The appearance of the shoe that really stands out for me is in the end part 1. He pops up in the Hall of Spoils, and that's basically where they're showing all the treasures that they got without Toadette. Now, the next thing that we'll talk about are the clones, and they're basically exact copies of Ed, Tom, Matt, and Toadette, and they were created by the evil director. Now, they appeared in an episode called Spares, and they were basically created from the DNA left on a group of cinema seats and put together on an assembly line. The crazy part about this is that in the original, Tom's clone didn't have any eyes, Ed's clones have toasters for brains, and Matt and Toadette's clones have their heads reshaped. And all the imperfect clones were basically dumped into the reject room, which is a reference to the actual mod here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video where I fully explain all the corrupted Pibby characters thus far, or check out this video where I go over the new Sonic mod. As always, people, this is Orseofkorse. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video. Peace, peace.